20 seconds of bullying exposed a shy woman's hidden strength, then an incredible mafia boss stepped in. Sarah, 28, stood at her cashier register in the bustling Oakview grocery store, ringing up customers with mechanical precision. Here, amidst the clattering carts and cheerful chatter, she often felt invisible. The chatter faded into the background, especially when a group of teenagers strutted past, laughing, their mockery piercing like a knife. They'd been harassing her for weeks, calling her names, their wicked laughter consuming her like a storm. On a bright Friday afternoon, everything came to a head. That day, she wore a blue polo shirt, the fabric slightly too large, but it was a comfort that made her feel invisible, a shield against the world. Just as she had placed the last of a customer's groceries into the bag, the group of teenagers erupted in cruel laughter nearby. "Hey, Sarah. Can you make it through an entire shift without tripping over your own feet?" In those fleeting 20 seconds, she felt the world tilt. The customers paused, their eyes turning towards her with sympathy and curiosity. Some even averted their gaze. Sarah's heart raced as her cheeks flushed a deep crimson. I'm just doing my job," she stammered, shifting her gaze to the register. It should have been a comforting routine, but today, it felt like a spotlight. Just then, Tony stepped in. With a reputation that sparked fear and respect, he was a former mob boss turned community leader. The air thickened, heads turned. "Enough!" he bellowed, his voice commanding attention. It sent a shiver down Sarah's spine, but not in fear. Perhaps, it was the first flicker of hope she'd felt in weeks. She watched as the teenagers, rebellious and snarky, cowed under his glare, retreating like shadows. "Let us go," Tony spoke directly to her, motioning her away from the register, her humble post, where she felt safest. Reluctantly, she followed, heart pounding, unsure what lay ahead. As weeks passed, an unlikely mentorship blossomed. Tony, wrapping his past in shadowy wisdom, taught her to stand tall and speak up against her bullies. With each confrontation, she felt her voice breaking free, but the bliss was tinged with dread. Gossip echoed through Oakview, whispers about her family and Tony's past stirring the pot of small-town judgment. The very community that was supposed to rally around her began to separate, friends became distant. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications, so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the rally approached, the buzz in the air grew heavier, and Sarah felt torn. Would she be brave enough to stand among her peers, to challenge not only the bullies, but the expectations of what a woman like her should do? Her heart raced, memories of those mocking laughs replayed in her mind like a haunting melody. But when the worst news hit, everything spiraled. The scandal had reached her family's doorstep. A letter outlining the bullying and Tony's involvement slid under their door. It was change or silence, opportunity or shame. Would she retreat to the shadows, a ghost of her former self, or muster the strength to fight back? The weight of the moment pressed down, and Sarah stood teetering on the edge, ready to uncover her true self, but the choice loomed with uncertainty. The day of the rally arrived, draped in a sky that seemed to mirror her turmoil, clouded and unsure. Sarah stood at her bedroom mirror, twisting strands of her hair nervously, her pale reflection offering no comfort. The blue polo felt tighter than normal, it whispered reminders of rejection rather than support. Today, she was finally stepping into the light, but what if it only revealed her flaws? "Are you ready, Sarah?" came her mother's voice from the other room. The warmth in her voice was somehow chilling. It pulled Sarah back into the reality of her family's struggle. The letter had shaken them, and the worry etched deep lines in her mother's face, lines that spoke of fear and uncertainty. "Yeah, Mom, I'm coming," she replied, telling herself to breathe. Each step to the door felt heavier, but beneath that weight was something else, a spark ignited by Tony's words echoing in her mind. "You have more strength than you know." Outside, the community square buzzed with anticipation. She could see the colorful banners flapping in the gentle breeze, their messages bold and clear: "Stand up together." Yet, instead of exhilarating, they felt suffocating. As she walked towards the gathering crowd, she could see faces she recognized, some supportive, some tinged with judgment. The mixed emotions were overwhelming. As she reached the edge of the crowd, she spotted Tony, towering amidst others. He was speaking to a group, his presence radiating strength. A few people cast glances her way, some whispering, their eyes dissecting her with a mix of pity and curiosity. In that moment, she felt like a performer on stage, unprepared, exposed. "Sarah." Tony's booming voice broke through the noise, and she felt a mix of dread and relief at his recognition. "Come here." He waved her over, his charisma weaving through the crowd. With every step forward, her heart raced harder, thudding in her chest like a drum urging her to either charge ahead or retreat. "Ladies and gentlemen," Tony began, "this is Sarah." He turned to her, his dark eyes steadying her quaking nerves. "This young lady has faced unimaginable challenges, and today, she steps up. Let us give her our support." Courage surged through her, and for a moment, she forgot the glares, the whispers. She found the strength to lift her head high, drawing on the energy of the crowd clapping. But just as swiftly, doubt crept back in. What if she faltered? What if she stumbled over her words, just like they teased? "Thank you, Tony," she started, her voice barely above a whisper. Then the cheers roared louder, coaxing her on. I want to speak today not just about the bullying, but about us." Her words grew steadier, filled with an urgency she hadn't expected. "We need to stand together. To be kind, to uplift instead of tear down." She paused, embracing the support of the crowd. As she spoke, she felt the undeniable connections forming with familiar faces, friends who had distanced themselves, shifting glances, showing the smallest flickers of understanding as they gathered around her. There was power in vulnerability, a binding force in shared pain. But just as the tide of courage seemed to sweep her onward, she heard it. A voice cutting through the rally, sharp and mocking. "Look who thinks she is special now." The laughter erupted, familiar yet cruel, turning her breath to ice. The group of teenagers had shown up, emboldened somehow, ready for retaliation. In that moment, Sarah's confidence wavered, vulnerability crashing down like a wave. Would she rise to meet the challenge, or would she retreat once more? The crowd's energy shifted, uncertainty swirling in the air, while her heart thumped louder than ever. Facing the bullies, she realized it was not just a moment of her fight, it was a moment for all those who had faced the same struggles. She could feel the collective breaths of the crowd, waiting, hoping. Now what? She thought, heart hammering, the weight of her decision heavy as the crowd pressed around her, eyes wide with anticipation. Would she reclaim her story, fight back, or shrink away? The answer teetered on the brink, and for the first time, it felt like it was hers to choose. The moment hung in the air, charged and electric. What decision would she make in the face of fear? Time seemed suspended as Sarah inhaled deeply, feeling the taut energy of the crowd pulsing around her. The taunts from the bullies were like rocks thrown into still water, creating ripples of anxiety and doubt. She looked at Tony, who nodded encouragingly, and for a split second, the world narrowed to just him and the voice piercing through her thoughts. "Why do you keep showing up here?" Sarah called out, seeking to confront the source of her fear head-on. The laughter stammered for a moment, caught off guard. What is so special about tearing other people down? Their leader, a tall kid with a smirk that hung like poison in the air, stepped forward. Special? Please. This is just a sad little show. Who do you think you are? The crowd shifted, murmurs darting like frantic whispers, and in that moment she realized she had a choice to make. Who am I? Sarah echoed. I am someone who is tired of hiding. Tired of being scared of you. Her voice shook with a blend of fear and newfound determination, as she faced down the well of memories flooded with scorn, shame, and feeling small. The crowd was suddenly quiet, hanging on her every word, and Sarah felt their support cooking like a furnace around her. She pressed on, I won't let your taunting keep me down. There are so many of us hurting in silence, feeling alone while you laugh. But today, we stand together. A few murmurs of agreement sparked up in the crowd, encouraging her to push harder against the tide of negativity. Sarah. Sarah. The crowd began to chant. Each repetition felt like a drumbeat boosting her resolve. The bullies shifted uncomfortably, their bravado cracking under the pressure of unity forming right before their eyes. Do you really think this makes you tough? She continued, keeping her voice strong. It's not strength to belittle others. Real strength is in lifting each other up. With that proclamation, she felt the uplift of the crowd cascading around her, a sea of energy. She spotted familiar faces now transformed from judgment to admiration, her friends who had once turned away now stepping forward with approving nods. But fear screamed inside her, insisting this was all too good to be true. What if they turned against her? What if everything collapsed? Enough! The leader of the bullies finally shouted, anger bubbling just beneath the surface. You think they care about you? They drop you like a stone. His words slashed through Sarah's confidence, but rather than retreat, she thought of the past of every time she had let fear silence her. Memories of lonely nights filled with whispers of you can't echoed in her mind. No, she said fiercely. I will not be afraid anymore. The conviction in her voice grew stronger, electrifying. She turned to the crowd, their faces alight with validation, with hope. Are we not stronger together? The crowd surged with agreement, and she felt like she was riding a wave of solidarity. Together. They echoed back. The bullies glanced at each other, doubt creeping into their eyes, shadows of uncertainty marking their faces. Sarah realized this was more than a rally against bullying. It was the birth of a powerful voice challenging cruelty. Your words have no power over me. I have had enough, she declared, emboldened by her own spirit. We will fight back with kindness, with support, and we will not let fear dictate our lives. We are not your targets. The leader stepped back, and for the first time, something flickered out of him: fear. Would this rally change everything? Would they back off? The crowd erupted into applause, clapping louder than ever, the noise mingling with shouts of encouragement. Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline like she'd never known. The rally felt like her very own revolution, a new chapter of courage flipping from doubt. But just as hope lit her heart, the reality settled. The tension in the air seemed thicker now. What if they come after me again? She thought, and vulnerability swept back in like a dark cloud. She glanced briefly at Tony, his unwavering support glowed like a beacon. Maybe this was just the beginning. But she still worried. Could this little stand against bullies stir a greater storm? The question clung to her as tightly as the cheers of the crowd, an exhilarating weight of promise mingled with apprehension. Would they take the fight to a new level, or was fear finally losing its grip on her heart? As she continued to face down the bullies, a flicker of uncertainty gnawed at the edges of her confidence. The moment hung in her chest, heavier than before. What was coming next for her? Would their laughter truly fade into the background, or was this only the dawn of something bigger and more challenging? Sweat trickled down Sarah's back as the applause slowly faded, but the thrill of victory still hummed in her veins. She'd spoken her truth, and the crowd had responded. The air buzzed with a strange mix of exhilaration and dread. She could see faces light up with hope. Her friends, the ones who used to look the other way, were now stepping closer, rallying behind her like a warm shield of resilience. But the bullies had not retreated completely. The leader, still outwardly confident, snickered darkly, "You think this makes you special? You're just a joke to everyone here." The harshness of his words cut through the air, a stark reminder that not everyone had shifted. The crowd's energy wavered for the briefest of moments, and Sarah's heart ached with apprehension. "Don't listen to him," Tony shouted, his voice breaking through the tension. "You're not a joke, Sarah. You're a hero." That ignited another surge of support as people began clapping again, this time harder and louder. It was a heartbeat of unity that echoed back to her, charging the atmosphere with defiance. "Thank you, Tony," she breathed, gaining strength from his words. The bullies might have attacked from their corners, but her back was solid with friends willing to stand up for her. She looked around, her heart leaping at the sight of their unwavering support. But doubt was a tricky companion. It crept in, whispering incessantly about the potential for revenge from the bullies. "Enough." The leader spat, unable to hide the anger rolling off him. "You think they'll stick by you when it gets tough? You'll be alone again. Just wait." That hit hard. That familiar pang of isolation lurked, pulling hooks of fear deep into her chest. But Sarah took a deep breath, recalling all the moments she had spent feeling defeated and invisible. She wouldn't let that happen again. "Not now, not ever. Maybe you think I'm alone, but look at this crowd." She gestured broadly, her voice booming. "I'm standing here with all of them. Together, we're not just here for fun. We're here to change things." The crowd erupted again in agreement, the waves of energy crashing against her. "Together," they shouted, a catchy chorus that wrapped around her like a protective shield. Yet, she quickly realized one truth: this wasn't just a battle against the bullies. It was a fight for everyone who felt trapped in silence. A collective heartbeat, a desperate cry for a community that wouldn't stand for cruelty. "We are stronger than you think, and we will stand together." Triumphant pride welled up within her, laced with anxiety. She felt the ground beneath her shift, like a storm brewing that might come sweeping back to challenge her. The leader's face contorted with rage and disbelief, the cracks of his facade showing more clearly now. But before she could contemplate how that might play out, he surged away, barking orders to his remaining crew. "Let us see how you handle this on your own, Sarah," he yelled as he stomped away with his gang, leaving behind a sleek threat heavier than before. For a split second, confusion fluttered amongst the crowd. Sarah's heart raced. Would they just retreat? Would they come back stronger? The air felt charged, and every instinct inside her screamed out caution. A girl stepped forward from the crowd, her eyes fierce. "We won't let them push us around anymore." Her voice was ready, a sharp blade cutting through the weight of uncertainty. "I don't care what they do," Sarah said, emboldened by that fierce look. "Together, we've taken the first step, and we won't go back." She glanced around at the faces watching her, bold, daring, mirroring her determination. "If they come back, we'll be ready. Right?" The chorus echoed back, vibrant and powerful, "Right." Yet, as they began to disperse, there was a murmur behind her, a voice that cut through the excitement. "You think you've won? You have no idea what is coming for you." The shivers of warning trailed down her spine. The uncertainty lingered, heavy and thick. What shadows lay in wait? Would her newfound strength hold when the storm returned? The Questions churned, as the thrill of the moment transitioned back into the tense reality of what lay ahead. There was a rush of footsteps approaching, but who would come to her aid? Would they be friends or foes? As she turned to face the unknown, the tension in the air thickened like a curtain, blocking out the light of her victory, and leaving only shadows in its wake. Would she truly be brave enough to meet whatever lay beyond? Her heart raced in her chest as the footsteps grew louder. Sarah turned slowly, ready to face the unexpected. The fear curled in her stomach like a live wire. What if it was the bullies returning? What if they brought others? But rather than the gang of taunts and jeers, she saw a different figure emerge from the shadows. It was Hannah, a girl from school with a fierce reputation of her own. A girl who had never been on either side of the bullying, but watched from the fringe with wary eyes. "Sarah," Hannah called, her tone urgent yet steady. "We need to talk." The crowd behind Sarah was quiet now, murmurs lacing the air. Some exchanged anxious glances, unsure whether to approach or hang back. "What's wrong?" Sarah struggled to keep her voice steady, keeping her eyes locked with Hannah's. "There are things you don't know," Hannah said, taking a step closer. Her eyes glinted with a mix of concern and determination. "About the leader and his crew. They are planning something. It's bigger than you think. We need to get prepared." Fear stole the breath from Sarah's lungs. "What do you mean? Prepared for what?" "I overheard them after you spoke. They are not just going to crawl away. They want revenge, and it's not going to be pretty." As the words sunk in like stones, Sarah felt a deep anger rise inside her. "But they can't just they think they own this school, that they can intimidate and control everyone," Hannah interrupted, her voice rising with conviction. "But they don't own you. They don't own us." A spark ignited in Sarah. She felt the momentum of her earlier speech returning, infusing her with confidence. "You're right. They won't have the last word. We have to stand together, just like before." Hannah nodded, a small smile breaking through her serious demeanor. "Exactly. We need to gather everyone, get the message out that we won't back down." As they shared this moment of clarity, Sarah felt a new sense of purpose. The fear still lingered, but it was now mingled with something more powerful, hope. "Let us do it," Sarah said, her voice strong. "We'll take the fight to them. They need to know that we're not afraid." Behind them, a group of students began to converge, drawn in by the conviction radiating from Sarah and Hannah. One by one, they stepped forward, faces alight with resolve. "We're with you," shouted a boy named Mark, an athlete who had always been popular. "I've seen what they've done to people, and I won't let them keep it up." Encouraged by the support, Sarah felt flames of determination taking hold. "We can organize, we can rally the school, and we can show them that this is our space too." Together. The crowd started to cheer, their voices mingling as one, echoing into the night. But deep down inside, she worried, scared that the bullies had the upper hand, that they had a plan brewing in the dark. Suddenly, a voice pierced through the noise, a chilling reminder of the threat looming over them. "You think numbers will save you?" The commanding presence fell over them again, familiar yet cold. There stood the leader, flanked by his crew, a thunderous menace ready to unleash chaos. The collective energy of the students froze, hearts pounding in unison as they faced the enemy. Would they stand together, or would fear splinter their resolve? "Yeah, stand together," he mocked, eyes darting over the crowd with disdain. "What are you ready to do when I unleash the real storm?" Tension crackled like electricity in the air. Sarah clenched her fists, caught between hope and dread. In that moment, she could feel the stakes rising, the world around her hanging in a fragile balance. She had rallied her friends, but could they truly withstand the storm? As the boys laughed, the energy shifted like dark clouds gathering for a storm. But this time, Sarah felt lighter, ready for whatever danger lay ahead. This was only the beginning. "Don't you dare underestimate us," Sarah shouted, her voice fierce, unwavering amidst the tension. Would this be their stand, or would fear paralyze them once more? And as the chilling laughter echoed off the walls, she faced what was coming, heart pounding but unyielding. What was the storm? Would she be ready to confront it? The leader's laughter echoed through the courtyard like a sinister wind, chilling Sarah to the bone. She felt her heart thumping loudly against her ribs, but there was something else stirring within her, a defiance igniting with each mocking word. "Listen," she shouted, her voice cutting through the tension, "you think you're strong, because you have numbers, but strength isn't about fear. It's about standing up for what's right." The crowd around her began to murmur, exchanging glances of uncertainty mixed with increasing determination. Hannah stepped in closer, her eyes wide with surprise at Sarah's boldness. "That's right. We're tired of living in fear of you. This is our school too." The leader squinted at them, his playful demeanor replaced by genuine anger. "You think you can change anything? You're just a bunch of losers with no idea what's coming." Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her friends' gazes on her. "We might be scared, and we might not have a plan yet, but we're not alone anymore. You've underestimated us before, but this time, we're done hiding." Mark stepped forward, eyes blazing. "Yeah. If you want a fight, we'll give you one. Together. We're stronger than we look." With that, a murmur of agreement surged through the group. Sarah felt the adrenaline pumping through her veins, igniting her resolve as one by one, her classmates stepped closer, ready to stand beside her. The air vibrated with newfound bravery. In the shadows, the leader's face twisted in confusion and frustration, momentarily losing his grip on the power he wielded. "You think courage is enough? You really don't know what you're getting into. Tell us." Someone in the back shouted. "What are you going to do? Bully us into silence?" Sarah's heart raced, but she saw the determination in her friend's eyes. It was like a chain reaction, their courage sparked her own. She squared her shoulders and faced the leader head-on. "We're not afraid of you. Bring whatever you want, because this time, we will fight back." The leader was taken aback, his bravado waning for the first time. He exchanged nervous glances with his crew, who were starting to look uneasy. "Let me make this clear," he growled, regaining some composure. "This isn't over. We have plans for each and every one of you. You can't challenge me without facing consequences." A wave of uncertainty rippled through the crowd, and Sarah felt a flicker of fear. What did he mean by consequences? But she pushed that thought aside. "And we'll be ready. You think we'll just roll over? You've shown us who you really are, and we won't let you keep hurting others." Suddenly, the night sky crackled with energy, reflecting the tension around them. A few brave souls cheered, then others joined, the sound swelling into a unified declaration. "Together," they shouted, their voices rising as if to defy the dark clouds brewing above them. What had begun as a challenge morphed into a rally, a revolution right before Sarah's eyes. She felt fire in her chest, blistering hope flooding through her. But just then, the leader took a step back, his expression shifting from anger to something else, calculating, colder. "You think this night marks your victory? I have a few tricks up my sleeve, and none of you are prepared for what's next." Sarah swallowed hard. What could he possibly mean? She felt the unmistakable tug of doubt nagging at her, the weight of uncertainty pressing down like a storm cloud. Could they really stand against whatever was coming? As the laughter died down and the tension thickened, Sarah knew they had to be ready. She would not allow fear to crush their newfound strength. Whatever it is, she said, a fierce determination coating her words, we'll meet it head on. With her heart racing for what lay ahead, the realization hit, this was only the beginning of their fight. But was she prepared for the darkness he threatened to unleash? The crowd waited, breath held in anticipation, the air thick with promise and dread. Would they rally behind Sarah when the storm arrived, or would they crack under pressure? As shadows flickered in the corners of the courtyard, Sarah sensed change was coming. They just had to weather the storm together. The anticipation in the courtyard was palpable, like a tight string ready to snap. As shadows danced ominously around them, Sarah glanced at her friends, their faces illuminated by the flickering lights overhead. There was a shared understanding, a fierce resolve binding them together. They knew they faced a fearsome adversary, but they were no longer alone. Listen, everyone. Mark called out, his voice steady even amidst the rising anxiety. We need a plan. He's got something up his sleeve, and we can't just stand here waiting for him to make his move. Let us come together and figure this out. Sarah felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Here it was, the first step toward not only resisting the bullying but turning the tide. She stepped forward, rallying her courage. Mark's right. This isn't just about standing up to him. It's about showing everyone in this school that we refuse to be silenced. We'll turn the tables. Cheers erupted, filling the air with a much-needed surge of hope. Yet, in the back of her mind lingered a question, how? They were facing more than just a fractured sense of safety. They were up against a deep-rooted culture of fear that had settled over their school like a thick fog. Suddenly, the leader broke the tension, his voice slicing through their unity like a knife. You think your little meeting changes anything? You're adorable, really. But I don't need to lift a finger. Watch as your friends turn against you. His cruel smirk sent chills down Sarah's spine. A wave of unease crashed over her. Could he really make them turn? Hannah crossed her arms defiantly, her eyes on fire. We're not going anywhere. We know who we are now, and we're not breaking apart. We're stronger standing together. But as the words echoed in the silence, Sarah felt the weight of doubt press against her. She turned to the crowd, noticing the hint of worry flickering in some of their eyes. What if the leader was right? They needed to act fast. Let us gather ideas, plans, and ways to support each other, she urged, pushing through the fear. This isn't just about us here today. It's about everyone who's been hurt, everyone who's afraid. We can do this. The crowd began to disperse in a whirlwind of hushed conversations and nervous glances. Sarah seized the moment, nudging her friends closer. Let us break into smaller groups and draft strategies. We can think of ways to spread our message, to empower others who feel just as we do. A small knot of her classmates began to move. Each engaged in hushed discussion, their voices strengthened by Sarah's words. She could feel the buzz of energy starting to build, each flicker of determination like sparks igniting a flame. Just then, the flickering lights flickered ominously, and the air grew heavy. Sarah's instincts kicked in, a sense of looming danger clawing at her heart. Everyone, stay close. Look out for one another. He might try to isolate us. But even as she spoke, the crowd began to shift. One by one, students broke away, wandering deeper into the shadows, where whispers echoed softly. The leader's grin widened in the darkness, clearly delighted by the discord he saw manifesting among them. No. Sarah shouted, her voice hoarse with urgency. Stay together. Don't let him win. As she pushed through the mass towards her friends, she could see expressions shifting from bold determination to uncertainty. Maybe that was what the leader had meant. His words lingered like poison in the air. Then, a sharp gasp broke through the crowd. A figure appeared at the edge of the light, a classmate, visibly distressed, clutching an envelope tight to her chest. I have something. You need to see this. Everyone turned to stare, and Sarah felt a thrill of fear tinged with curiosity. What could it be? A part of her sensed a significant shift about to occur. What hidden truths lay within that envelope, ready to change everything for them? As they gathered closer, Sarah realized they were standing at the edge of a precipice. Not just against the leader's darkness, but into a revelation that might define their fight ahead. Would this be the key to turning the tide, or simply another trap waiting to spring? The courtyard felt electric, with every gaze fixed on the girl clutching the envelope. Emily, a soft-spoken sophomore who often drifted under the radar, now stood at the center of attention. Her voice trembled as she spoke. I found this in my locker. It's from him. The crowd murmured, leaning in. Anxiety hung thick in the air, a heavy blanket that seemed to stifle their voices. Sarah's heart raced. What does it say? She urged, stepping forward. Emily hesitated, swallowing hard. I didn't read it all, but there are names. Names of people he's targeting to join his side. The tremor in her voice betrayed how much this revelation weighed on her. Sarah felt something shift inside her, the heat of anger mixed with a sense of urgency. We've got to know what's in there. We can't let him play us against each other. Mark nodded, his eyes searching the crowd. Come on, Emily. You're safe here. Share with us. With a deep breath, Emily tore open the envelope and unfolded the paper. The courtyard fell silent, everyone holding their breath, waiting for the words that might change everything. Fragments of text revealed names, assigned tasks, threats, and explicit manipulations. Look, this isn't just gossip or rumors, Sarah said, feeling the tension build. This is proof. He's trying to create chaos by picking us off one by one. Gasps arose from the crowd as the reality settled in. Suddenly, the sense of community felt stronger, more urgent. They weren't just fighting one dominant bully. They were up against a whole network of fear designed to sow dissent among them. I can't believe this, Hannah breathed, her eyes wide with disbelief. How can he have so much power? In fear, Mark replied, his voice steady. But this, he gestured toward the envelope, this shows they are scared, too. They know we can turn this around if we stand united. Sarah took a moment to absorb it all. She noticed glimmers of determination igniting in her classmates' eyes. They were no longer just a group fragmented by fear. They were transforming into a united front, ready to confront the dark leader. Let us document all the information we have, Sarah suggested, her urgency morphing into action. Emily, can you share that with us? We can create a plan to address this. Emily nodded slowly, her voice firmer now. Yeah. I can help with that. As they gathered around, Sarah felt the weight of the past start to lift. It was as if every whispered secret was finally being brought into the light. Each name on that list represented a potential ally, someone who could stand beside them. But just then, the shadows flickered again, and Sarah's instincts flared. The noticeably lighter mood altered as she spotted the leader watching them from a distance, his expression unreadable, but undoubtedly calculating. We can't let him see us weakening, she warned. We need to act quickly. Who knows how long before he tries to retaliate. We need to get ahead of this. Around her, heads nodded in agreement, determination thickening the air once more. They had a chance now, but there was no time for hesitation. Yet, as they schemed amidst shared whispers and earnest glances, a chilling thought slithered into Sarah's mind. What if something was brewing that they couldn't anticipate? With a new sense of purpose, they divided tasks. Some would reach out to those named in the letter, trying to bring everyone together. others would brainstorm ways to confront the leader directly. But was this enough? Could they face him, or would they truly become like pawns in his game? The questions clawed at Sarah's mind, anxiety creeping back in. She glanced back at the leader, who stood there, grinning like a predator savoring the hunt. In that moment, she felt fear and exhilaration collide. They had taken a step forward, but the road ahead was fraught with danger. As she turned back to her friends, determination shone in her eyes, but uncertainty whispered in her heart. Was this fight just beginning, or had they stepped into a trap of their own? With every beat, the moment hung heavy, and Sarah knew their next move would define them all. Emily's heart pounded as she leaned closer to the circle, the envelope still crisp in her hands. Her fingers tingled, and all eyes were on her. This was no longer just her burden, it was a shared responsibility. Okay, she began, the nervous edge in her voice softening with every word. There are names here. I know a few of them, students I've seen him pick on. If we can reach out to them, maybe we can form a stronger group. Yes. Sarah interjected, her enthusiasm contagious. We'll show them they're not alone. We'll make sure they know we're in this together. Mark tapped his chin, thinking hard. We can create a safe zone. A place where anyone can come to talk, share their stories, and support each other. We can post it online anonymously. Emily nodded, a flicker of hope igniting in her chest. The warmth of connection around her was comforting, people were stepping up. They weren't just students now, they were allies, bound by a common purpose, shedding their fears together. I can set up a group on social media, Hannah added, her eyes bright and eager. We'll keep it private, but it'll allow those scared to speak up to join. They can have a say without fear. As ideas bounced back and forth, Sarah felt a surge of energy. Each proposal felt like a step upward from the depths they'd been pulled into. Each suggestion inspired others. She could see change starting to illuminate the faces around her, lighting their eyes with new resolve. Emily, can you introduce the names? Sarah asked. The more we know, the more we can do. Emily took a deep breath, her heart racing again, but this time it was more excitement than fear. Slowly, she leafed through the pages, reading the names aloud. The more she spoke, the more emboldened she felt, as if the act of sharing released chains she didn't know she bore. As names were called, murmurs of recognition flashed through the crowd. They were all fighters, not just victims. With every name, they found common ground, memories stirring of silent suffering. Then, in the distance, Sarah caught a glimpse of him again. The leader, this time with a cohort and entourage that looked all too intimidating. The thrill of their planning clashed with something darker. It wasn't over yet. No, she whispered, squaring her shoulders and breaking the group's focus. He's still out there. If he sees us gathering strength, he'll strike back harder. We can't let him intimidate us, but we need to be smart. Fingers tightened into fists, and the chatter fell away as the group turned to her, their shared fear bubbling just beneath the surface. Across the courtyard, laughter erupted from the leader, and his followers echoed his amusement. It stung like a slap, igniting a flame within Sarah. We don't need to play his game, she said fiercely. Let us move our meeting, our plans somewhere secure. It's time to kick fear out and let courage in. With that, energy rippled through the group. Ideas flew faster, strategies formed, and bonds strengthened. They were breaking free from the chains of isolation. Yet, Sarah couldn't shake the sense of urgency in her gut. Even as they rallied, the feeling that they were being watched drove her resolve higher. Meet back here tomorrow, same time. We'll come up with a solid plan, and include those we can trust, not just the named targets, but others who have felt the sting of his manipulation, Emily proposed, and the group nodded collectively, determination solidifying in every glance. As they dispersed, Sarah glanced back at the leader one last time. He stood apart, expression still unreadable, but his dark eyes burned with what felt like a silent promise of retaliation. Tomorrow will be crucial, she thought, fear creeping back in. But will it push us to be stronger, or shatter the fragile unity we've built? With the taste of uncertainty on her lips, she joined her friends, unaware of the storm they were on the brink of igniting. Would they be ready for what came next? Would their bond be strong enough to withstand the darkness encroaching on their newfound alliance? As the sun dipped low in the sky, all they could do was hope. Dawn broke over Oakview with a fiery orange sky, glowing like the determination surging within Sarah. The air felt electric, charged with a sense of imminent change. Today was pivotal. Today was the day she and her friends would reclaim their lives. Standing in front of the school, butterflies danced in her stomach, but they weren't solely from fear. There was excitement bubbling under the surface, the thrill of unity igniting hope. She knew they weren't just individuals anymore. They had woven their strengths together, forming a fabric of resilience strong enough to challenge even the darkest shadows. As her friends began to arrive, their faces lit with purpose, Sarah felt the warmth of camaraderie flood over her. Mark was the first to break the silence. "We're ready to face whatever comes our way, right?" he said confidently, pulling Sarah into a supportive side hug. Hannah bounced on her toes, a spark of exuberance in her voice. "Let us show them we're united. They think they can intimidate us, but we'll prove them wrong." The mingled energy pulled the group closer, a circle of strength that would not be easily unraveled. Emily, holding the infamous envelope of names like a sacred scroll, stepped forward. "I spoke to a few more people last night. More want to join us. They are tired of living in fear, and they know we could make a difference." Each word she spoke built trust, solidifying the commitment in their hearts. With the day's plan sketched out, they moved through the school halls like a new wave of empowerment. The lingering shadows of uncertainty mingled with the sharp resolve to create change. As they approached lunchtime, they had transformed the cafeteria into an assembly of support, a safe zone where conversations could flow freely and stories could be shared. Sarah climbed onto a chair, heart pounding as she gazed at the sea of familiar faces. "All right, everyone, gather around," she called out. The room began to quiet, eyes shifting toward her with curiosity. "We're not just battling a bully here, we're fighting for our community. For each other." Mark chimed in, stepping beside her with a grin. "If we stand together, nobody can break us. We're creating an entirely new culture here, one of kindness, support, and strength." Nods and murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the presence of their united front. "We're launching a campaign," she declared, her voice resolute. "It's time to show the world that Oakview stands for more than just whispers and judgment. We want to uplift each other." Cheers erupted, the sound of unity ringing out like a battle cry. But just as the excitement peaked, a shadow darkened the doorway, a figure towering ominously, the bullpen of bullies flanking him. The leader burst through, his eyes narrowed, taking in the scene before him. "Looks like someone thinks they can change things," he sneered, the confidence dripping from his words like poison. The crowd shrank back instinctively, tension rising. "Don't let him intimidate you," Sarah shouted, squaring her shoulders, refusing to let fear sweep through her again. "This is our moment. We're stronger together." The leader laughed, his bravado spreading through the air like an infectious disease. "You think you're united? This is just a joke. I'll watch you fall apart." As he leaned in closer, Sarah found her courage rising, a spark igniting from deep within. "You may think you hold the power, but we're not afraid anymore." She found herself stepping forward, the crowd closing ranks behind her as if he was suddenly facing a wall of fire. The leader's expression faltered momentarily, frustration leaking through his facade of confidence. "You really think they'll stick by you?" he challenged, throwing a glance over his shoulder at his own crew. Sarah felt each of her friends tighten their fists, resolve battling fear in the air. "We won't let you dictate who we are," she replied firmly. "We're breaking that cycle right here, right now." "I'll make sure you regret this," he warned, a flicker of uncertainty now washing over his face. "Or maybe you'll just regret underestimating us," Mark shouted back, emboldened by the strength of the collective presence. The tide of emotion surged through the room, electrified by a sense of purpose. Suddenly, cheers erupted again, and Sarah felt her own heart racing. The camaraderie was palpable, a chorus of voices shouting, "Together! Together!" She saw renewed energy in the eyes around her, or replacing doubt. "Together we've found our voices and our strength," Sarah called, her heart full. "This isn't just about us. It's about everyone who has felt the sting of bullying. We're reclaiming our space." And with that declaration, she felt a wave of warmth wash over her. This was their moment. This was their fight. Defiance radiated from the crowd, an iron wall of resilience. The school bell rang, echoing the call for change. With it, the air shifted. Those who had stayed in the shadows finally rose, emboldened through the waves of recognition and support. As the leader's bravado faltered under the weight of their rising unity, Sarah sensed the storm shifting. This time, it wasn't darkness, but light that flooded in, illuminating their path toward empowerment. "Let us show him who we really are," she roared, and as the crowd surged forward, a collective force of hope swept out like ripples on a pond. In their hearts, fear fell away, leaving room for courage to flourish. And in that, Sarah realized she was not just standing against the tide, she was riding the wave of change. Together, they would face whatever challenges followed. "Unite as Oakview," she shouted, feeling the words soar through the air, a spell of solidarity that could either shatter or uplift, but no longer would they retreat from the shadows. The dawn of resilience had come, and with a firm heart, she was ready for whatever was next. For the storm may have begun, but now they were equipped with the thunderous power of community. This was only the beginning. What awaited them next would be their true test. To everyone watching the unfolding events, the journey had just begun. This was no longer just Sarah's story, it was theirs too. And the call to action was clear: together, they would stand. Together, they would rise. Now was the time to choose hope over fear, and they stood ready, strong, united, and unyielding. Listen up. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support makes all the difference.